Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a kit review for Minutia. This video is not sponsored. So this is what the kit looks like. So it's a flat pack kit. It's laser cut. 1/24 scale shield back table and chairs. I got my toothpicks for gluing. And let's open this up and see what's inside. Okay, so it's just getting it out of the package here. Okay, so you can see here, these are my chairs. And this here is my table. Nicely laser cut. Boy, the wood sure feels nice. Let's have a peek at the instructions. So the instructions, here's my list of tools that I require. X-Acto knife, tweezers, sanding block, emery boards, tack cloth, stain, magic marker, and here's a full list of the instructions on how to put it together. Wow, pretty complete and in full color. I'm impressed with that. I just hate it when you buy kits and they don't have proper instructions. So let's get to putting this together. So I got my X-Acto blade out here, and I'm just scoring it. Scores fairly easily, it appears. The big pieces are always easier to come out than the smaller ones are. So there's my tabletop. Let's do the table support. Yeah, it seems to cut very easily. Got a new light, so hopefully you guys can see things a little bit better on my workbench. There we go. And now we're going to take the table legs out. We got 1 done, 2 done, 3, and 4. I'm always very super careful with these little tiny pieces. They never seem to come out easily for me. And I don't want to force it because I don't want to break it. So it's better to go back in and score it again. So, and of course I've got big fat fingers, so I'm just going to grab my knitting needle. And I don't want to force it, as you can see. I'd rather go back in and cut it again and do it right, because once you break these little tiny pieces, well, I suppose you could glue them back together, but I mean the set would be ruined in my opinion. So I'd rather just take my time and do it slowly and make sure that it comes out good. And I mean, this is 1/24 scale. Can you imagine how delicate it would be in 1/48 scale? But people do those kits all the time. This company, Minutia, they're pretty cool. I mean, if you check out the Etsy shop, they're like a Home Depot or a giant home hardware. I mean, they have everything in that store. There's everything from baseboard to gingerbread trim to wallpaper. They've got all different kinds of designs for hardwood flooring, and one of the nicest wallpaper selections I've ever seen. So now I'm going in with my emery board, and I'm just filing off the parts where it came out of the flat pack. Make sure that they're nice and smooth. You want to do this before you assemble the furniture, because once the furniture is assembled, it's pretty difficult to do it. So you want to prep all these pieces ahead of time. So I'm just filing this off, making sure it's nice and smooth. I actually can't believe how smooth the top of this wood is. So I'm just filing this nicely. Want to make sure I've got it so it's looking really good. And of course I'm going to have to do this with every piece that I remove. So I'm just filing this nice and flat. So if you run your finger along it, you can't feel any lumps. That looks pretty good. Just go over it one more time. And then we'll do the same with all 4 legs. So I'm just gonna sand this off. There you go, nice and flat. That's looking pretty good to me. I actually really like this set. I think it's quite pretty. It's very elegant. I wished I had a set like that at home. I want a life-size set. Okay, so I'm just sanding the second leg here. So, and we're gonna do the same thing. No, I guess that was the third leg. I'm gonna do the same thing with the last leg. Make sure that they're sanded nice and smooth. There we go. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Awesome. Yeah. Just, it's spending the time making sure that everything is perfect before you assemble it. It's looking good. Okay. So now I've got the instructions say to glue the base to the tabletop. First of all, I'm just going to give it just a very light sanding. And I don't even really know why I'm doing this, because really this wood was absolutely perfect. I mean, it really didn't need this, but I guess it's good just to give it a little bit. So as you can see, the laser marks on the bottom of the table, make sure when you assemble it, if you're going to stain it, that's on the bottom. So, and that's the way it's going to go together. So now I'm going to just take a toothpick, and that's what I always use to apply glue. And I'm just going to get a little bit of wood glue here and apply a nice even coat. You don't want to over glue it, because when you put the 2 pieces together, you don't want the wood glue smushing out all over the place. So it's nice to you got to put enough glue on it to make sure that it's glued down, but you don't want so much glue that it's just going to be oozing all over the place. So I'm just going to cover this nicely. That's looking pretty good to me. There we go. And now just going to glue it to the tabletop. So I suppose I could have measured this, but I'm doing it by eye. So I'll just adjust it so that it's looking smack dab in the middle. And then the instructions say not to just let it dry like that. It's supposed to be clamped. So I'm going to get a couple of clamps that I have handy here. And we'll clamp this and let it dry for a couple of hours before we go on to the next step. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the little chairs. So here's the Etsy shop. So it's Minutia. That's the name of the company. So just going to pop these out. It's unbelievable. You guys have got to go on her Etsy shop and check out how many items there really are there. So once again, I'm just taking the X-Acto knife and cutting this out. I won't bore you by showing the build of each chair. I'll just do the one. Okay, so once again, just trying to be as exact as I possibly can. So of course, the larger pieces, they pop out really easy. It's always harder to do the really fine pieces or the tiny pieces for me. I think because I just have big clumsy hands. So, and again, I'm just popping these little front legs out for the chair. And be so careful when you pop them out. So, again, they don't want to come out easily, so you don't want to force it. So you go back in with the knife and cut it a second time just to make sure. Oops, get that knife out of my way before I cut my hand. And there you go. There's the front legs. And then here's the back legs of the chair and the chair back. And that seems to be coming out quite nicely. Awesome. Look how beautiful the detail is on that. I just love it. Did you see the way she laser cut the front of the chair, that little detail on it? Looks really good. So then it said to use a black marker, but I'm actually going to use a chocolate brown marker. And this is an actual paint marker that I'm using. And I'm going to go over the lines on every single piece where I had to sand it, so that it's a nice uniformed brown color all the way around every piece where it's been lasered. You can see here I'm just ever so gently going over the edge. I'll do the same with the side of the chair. And of course I have to go back in and do the table pieces too. So every single piece that came out where it was joined, you just want to lightly touch it up, or anywhere where you might have touched it with the sandpaper on the edge, you want to do it. So there you go, that's my brand. So it's acrylic paint pen, and it's in chocolate brown. I actually really like these paint pens. They're very, very fine tipped. They're a lot of fun to actually do canvases with too. So, okay, so, and once again, just kind of coloring that all in. It's just the attention to detail. If you do it all right from the start, then when you finish the piece, it's going to look great. So I'm doing the table legs as well. So, okay, so now the next part of the instructions say to glue the two chair pieces together, so the chair seat to the underneath the chair. So again, I got my wood glue out. Just applying a nice even coat. Then I'm putting the underneath of the chair to the top of the chair, putting them together. There we go. And then I've got to grab a clamp. Make sure that they're super even, because once they're glued, they're not coming apart. Wood glue likes to stay forever. And then I always like to, whenever I glue something, I always like to take a clean toothpick and actually wipe off any excess glue that might be oozing. So make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. So then I'm going to again let that sit for at least an hour and a half to get some good adhesion to it. So I'm back now with a little bit of wood stain, and as you can see, I'm just staining it with a brush, going over the whole thing. The glue's now dry on the wood, so I'm just quickly brushing over it with some wood stain, and then coming back with a soft dry cloth to wipe off any excess that I might have. I actually really like this color. It's kind of like a light walnut color. And then I'm going going to do the same thing with the other pieces. So just to make sure that everything is all stained nicely. The instruction actually said that I was supposed to be doing the staining work on it before assembly, but of course I got to do things my own way. So, okay, so you can see here, I'm just putting stain all over it. I really like the color of this. I think it's quite nice. So now the stain's dry, and I'm coming back to glue it together. So again, using a toothpick, I'm putting some wood glue on the bottom of the table leg. And you got to make sure that you put it in at the right angle. It says on the instructions the angled piece goes towards the center and the straight piece goes to the edge of the table. So you want to make sure you put that in correctly from the get-go. So you can see here that I'm just gluing the legs on. They look pretty good. I'm actually getting excited. I can't wait to see what the finished product's going to look like. So there you go. That's leg number 2. And I'm not going to bore you with gluing every single leg onto these pieces. I'm just going to kind of cut it off and give you... Oh yeah. So after I glue anything in, I always have to clean the excess glue off. If you don't clean all that excess glue off, then your piece just looks like a gloppy mess. And as you can see, I'm just, while the glue is still wet, I want to adjust everything to make sure that everything is all level. And the table just sits there perfectly. It looks pretty good, actually. You can see here. Nice detail in the legs. So I'm going to let that dry. And now I'm going to glue the little chair seats to the chair backs. I guess the biggest part of doing these kits is making sure that you give it plenty of time to dry in between each of the processes. So I'm just gluing this back now. The instructions said to do it over a block or over the side of a table so that it's perfectly level. I just eyeballed mine and hoped for the best, so which is probably not what I should have done. So I've got both the seats glued on, and again I'm removing any excess glue. My goodness, they're starting to look cute. Okay, so now it's glued up. The glue is dry, and as you can see, they're looking pretty cute. So now I'm going to glue the little legs on. And once again, you got to make sure that you follow the instructions, which direction that the leg is supposed to go on. As you can see here, they fit just perfectly in these little slots. So I'm just putting them together. I'm putting leg number 2 on. So, yeah, they're coming together nice. And just making sure I'm doing the final adjustments. Make sure that they're nice and level and that it sits levelly on the table. And once again, you want to make sure that it's looking exactly the way you want it to look, because once the wood's dry, you don't want to have, you can't really pull it apart once the wood glue is dry. So lots of people watch my videos, not as many subscribe. It really helps if you subscribe to my channel. And look at the finished product. Now I haven't gone and verithaned it yet, which I plan to do, but I want them to dry thoroughly for at least 24 hours before I apply any varathane to it. So just an absolute delight to work on. I highly recommend this company. Just really beautiful, beautiful set. I can't wait to see it in my dollhouse. So again, please subscribe and hit that like button, and please share with your friends and hit the notification button so you know when my next video is coming up.